A word that you never hear from the special interest is sacrifice. And we could go to tremendous examples of sacrifice in our nation's history. To me, none greater than what happened in Normandy. We will never see another example of what one group of people did for another group of people. And it would never happen today with the media and the way it'd be portrayed. But think of just the basic word of sacrifice and how you sacrifice in your own daily lives of time, effort, sometimes running your business, banging your head against the wall. Why am I doing this? Think of sacrifice. And then think of how when the U.S. Conference of Mayors was going to come to Providence and bring the Vice President of the United States, and those Providence firefighters protested and prevented the whole thing. And what was gained by that? And what was the sacrifice asked? To contribute part of their health care? Maybe not have as much overtime? It is time for the General Assembly to wake up. I often say, the General Assembly runs like Bruce Sunderland drives, lousy and dangerous. We've had a lot of rain lately in Rhode Island. It's not even the rainy season yet, that's when the snow starts. But can you imagine Noah trying to build an ark with all the rain in Rhode Island? Between the union benefit package, first of all, the unions would build it, it would sink, they'd have to rebuild it at double the cost. Loading the animals at time and a half, plus sick days. Be cheaper to teach all the animals to swim than to do it. Then the protest, right? Noah does not support working families. I like Ronald Reagan that said, the best social program is a job. And with all the talk in Washington about government creating jobs, trying to take over companies, I go back to Reagan that said, the 9 most terrifying words in the English language: I'm from the government and I'm here to help. It's very exciting, America's Cup come here to Newport. And America's Cup should be here in Newport. And I'll give credit to former Mayor Steve Laffey that said, even if they don't come, we should have our own cup. The wind is fantastic. The wind, we are the Saudi Arabia wind. Why not launch our own preview to the cup and with Quonset and have that? And we also have a great resource here in Newport with the Tennis Hall of Fame. I spoke with a tennis official that said, you have a tremendous resource there that is underused, and that is the Tennis Hall of Fame. And if you know anything about the tennis season, you have the French Open, which they play on clay, and then many of the players stay in Europe as a tune-up for Wimbledon so they don't come back to the United States. It's always about tuning up for the next tournament. But if we had a hard-court surface here in Newport and more of a structure, can you imagine in July having the likes of the Williams sisters and some of the top male players coming into Newport in July for a warm-up for the US Open? That is soaring with our strengths. That is creating the destination that we talk about. For the past 7 years, since RISC got started, it has without question been an advocate for the taxpayer. It's done a tremendous job calling for reforms that the state desperately needs, like lower taxes, complete overhaul of the state pension benefit package to state workers, improving the state's public schools, especially the teacher contract process. RISC recognizes the businesses of the state, especially the small businesses. You, the small business owner, are the backbone of the state's economy. The small businesses are vanishing, and if Rhode Island doesn't make some drastic changes to the tax rates and regulations on business, there'll be none left. Now, I'm a native Rhode Islander. I grew up Edgewood section of Cranston. Like many of you, grew up here. I lived in New York City for 8 years and then moved back because my family was here and wanted to raise my family here. We are all in this together. We all have a vested interest in the state succeeding. But what I see when I ride around our state is sad. You go down Post Road in Warwick, go through Reservoir Avenue in Cranston, the major streets of Providence, really little main streets all over our state. And what are the signs you see? Going out of business, for lease, for sale, for rent. Signs that are now cluttered on Main Street where thriving businesses at one time used to be. And we've become a state of used to be's, where something used to be. Those signs represent a lot of loss. Lost commerce in the local town or city, lost revenue for the state, lost income and a lost livelihood for the owner of those businesses, lost jobs for people who could have worked in that shop or little business, restaurant, whatever it might have been. Why I support RISC is RISC recognizes, as Harry mentioned, and all of us must recognize, if the business sector of Rhode Island vanishes, the entire state will collapse. And it does not have to be that way. But this is the day you have to take a stand. You have to get in the game, and you have to be engaged. That's why RISC launched the RISC Business Network. Now, I know Jeff Deckman of the Business Network, he's going to tell you more about how it works, but I applaud their effort. It's urgently needed, folks, right now. The RISC Business Network is organizing businesses into a powerful force and powerful voice. It's going to encourage people to run for seats in the General Assembly on a pro-business platform. You've got to unseat some of the major players in the Assembly and get the pro-business-minded people there. Many times I say, you know what, you ought to take that big blue bug on 95 and put it on right on top of the State House and exterminate some of those rats. The RISC Business Network needs your help, needs your investment, and there are people here. Get you involved, get in the game, and pledge to the network. Look around. These are your allies. This is the team. This is the group that can make the difference. RISC has done it for the taxpayers. They can do it for business. You've got to support them on this. Now, Harry Staley was right when he said that an earthquake erupted in Rhode Island this week. And make no mistake about it, the aftershocks are going to be felt everywhere. And they already have been felt everywhere, not just in Rhode Island, but folks around the country. As an advocate for true school reform, taxpayers are saying enough is enough. Chronically failing schools are not good enough. They will not be tolerated anymore. They are not good enough for the children. They're not good enough for the families. They're not good enough for any community that they happen to be in. They're not good for the taxpayers who deserve to see results. And they are not good enough to meet the standards of two true reformers like Education Commissioner Deborah Gist. And they're not good enough for Central Falls Superintendent Fran Gallo. Dr. Gallo, we are very proud to have you with us this morning, a woman of courage, a woman who has said failure will not be rewarded, a woman who stood up to the union and put a stake in the ground in the tiniest city in the tiniest state. Folks, it is my honor to bring up Central Falls Superintendent Dr. Francis Gallo.